Sichetanamanopistam stapitam jena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapandantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jatapatakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Nitam Shritam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Sri Vishakanatam Cha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paskatate Shatadine Vanchakalpataru Vaishya Kripashindu Bhivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gauritishe Namaha He Krishna Kadana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Prananami Hari Priye Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 14, Text number 9. Sargam Prajesha Rupena Dasyun Hanyat Svarat Vapu Kala Rupena Sarvesham Abhavaya Pritak Guna Sargam Prajesha Rupena Dasyun Hanyat Swarad Vapu Kala Rupena Sarvesham Abhavaya Pritak Guna Sargam Prajesha Rupena Dasyun Hanyat Swarat Vapu Kala Rupena Sarvesham Abhavaya Pritak Guna Creation of progeny. Praja Isha Rupena in the form of the Prajapati Marichi and others. Dasyun, thieves and rogues. Hanyat, kills. Swarat Vapu, in the form of the king. Kalarupena, in the form of time. Sarvesham, of everything. Abhavaya, for the annihilation. Pritak, different. Guna, possessing qualities. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. In the form of Prajapati Marichi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates progeny. Becoming the king, he kills the thieves and rogues. And, in the form of time, he annihilates everything. All the different qualities of material existence should be understood to be qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no purport. So we'll speak a little bit and then move to the next text. We can finish reading, in fact, this next text and its purport, and the last text has no purport, so we'll finish this chapter. Next text. Stuyamano janarde birmayaya namarupaya vimohitat mabirnana dashanayana chadrishyati. People in general are bewildered by the illusory energy, and therefore they try to find the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through various types of research and philosophical speculation. Nonetheless, they are unable to see the Supreme Lord. Purport. Whatever actions and reactions take place for the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material world are actually brought about by the one Supreme Person. There are many varieties of philosophers trying to search for the ultimate cause under different names and forms, but they are unable to find the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who explains in Bhagavad Gita that he is the origin of everything and the cause of all causes. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. This inability is due to the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. Devotees therefore accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is and remain happy simply by chanting the glories of the Lord. Text 11. Etat kalpa vikalpasya pramana parikirtitam yatra manvantaraniyahus chaturdasya puravidaha. In one kalpa, one day of Brahma, there take place the many changes called vikalpas. O King, all of these have been previously described to you by me. Learned scholars who know the past, present, and future have ascertained that in one day of Brahma there are 14 manus. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The System of Universal Management. So the first verse, the one which we chanted the Sanskrit to, describes that we must recognize the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the various qualities through which he acts and even through which he appears. We know that the Supreme Lord is worshipped in many different forms. Especially, we are here mentioning about the modes of material nature, which have also to do with creation, maintenance, and annihilation. So there are 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And accordingly, the Lord manifests himself in 3 avatars, known as guna avatars. Vishnu is the guna avatar for the mode of goodness, and he is in charge of maintenance. Brahma is the guna avatar in charge of the mode of passion, and he creates. And Shiva is the guna avatar in charge of the mode of ignorance, and it is his business to destroy. So all 3 of these are different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because, as it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord is present everywhere. But although he is present everywhere, still he is separate from his creation. This important philosophical truth is one of the most essential aspects of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, known as Achinta Veda Veda Tattva, that the Lord is simultaneously one and different than his creation. The impersonalists would have us understand that the Lord and his creation are actually non-different. Their mistake is that they fail to recognize that although God may be one in quality and pervaded everywhere, at the same time he is distinct and different from his energies. Because there is always a difference between the energetic source and the energies which derive from that source. Just as we see a difference between the sunshine and the sun, which is its source. The sun is fixed up in one place, and its power, its influence is felt everywhere through sunshine. So, sometimes we say the sun is shining today, the sun is shining in this room. Actually, it is not the sun that is shining in this room, but the energy of the sun in the form of shining particles which enter the room. But because the particles have a connection with the sun, so we describe them as the sun also. In this sense, we can say, Sarvam Kal Idal, was that verse? Sarvam, Sarvam Kal Vidam Brahma. Everything is Brahma. Everything is Brahma means that everything, Brahman or spirit, is pervading everywhere. So, everything is spirit for those who have transcendental vision. Just like an expert electrician, he can make the same energy, the same electricity, produce or run a refrigerator, which makes everything very cold, and at the same time run a furnace, which makes everything hot. So the electrician knows how to manipulate the electricity to create these opposite effects. In the same way, the Supreme Electrician, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the source of all energy. And some of his energy is used for maintaining the spiritual world. That spiritual energy is known as Chit Shakti. Chit Shakti means the spiritual energy of the Lord, and it has three aspects: Sandhini, Samvit, and Haladini. This Sandhini potency is the aspect of the spiritual energy which maintains the entire spiritual world. And this Samvit Shakti is the energy of the, or the aspect of the spiritual energy who helps to give one understanding of the Supreme Lord and his transcendental position. And the Haladini Shakti, who is personified in Srimati Radharani, is the all blissful, enjoying energy of the Lord. She gives unlimited pleasure to Krishna. So, these three are also found within the material realm. In other words, the Supreme Lord, when it comes time for material creation, as he himself becomes the Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Shiradakshay Vishnu, and as he becomes the Guna avatars, that is to say, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, so Srimati Radharani also expands herself. She becomes the consort of the Supreme Purusha avatars in the form of Ramadevi. And for the purpose of material creation, she becomes the material energy known as Durga or Maya, the illusory potency of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada explains that this Maya is none other than the Yoga Maya potency, the internal potency of the Lord, but it is the external feature of the Yoga Maya potency. Therefore, we see the Yoga Maya potency means the illusory, spiritual bewildering potency of the Lord. Maya means that which is not. But yoga means to connect. So, how is it that that which is not can become connected to Krishna? Yes, in the form of Yoga Maya, she does that. She is the bewildering potency which makes the pure devotees of the Lord more loving, more attached to Krishna. Just like Mother Yasoda, there's a nice description, not Mother Yasoda, excuse me, Devaki and Vasudev, when Krishna came from Vrindavan to kill Kamsa. So Krishna was in the arena, And after killing Kamsa, he came out of the arena, and for the first time after many years, he got to see his father and mother, Devaki and Vasudeva. So Devaki and Vasudeva had been watching this, and they were very astonished how their little child, Krishna, and his brother Balaram, how their children, Krishna and Balaram, could possibly kill Kamsa. Surely they are very great. And so Devaki and Vasudeva were standing there with awestruck at the power of the Supreme Lord, who happened to be their son. But this type of mood was not very appealing to Krishna, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not so much attracted by awe and veneration as he is by pure love, pure spontaneous love. Therefore, he invoked his Yoga Maya potency. That special, bewildering potency came over Devaki and Vasudeva, and suddenly Devaki and Vasudeva, instead of seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was so powerful that he had just killed Kamsa, they suddenly saw their two little sons. And immediately, of course they were not so little, they were perhaps 10, 12 years old by then. In any case, Devaki immediately felt motherly affection, and she wanted to breastfeed Krishna, and Krishna came upon her lap and she tried to feed him. And Vasudeva immediately smelled the head of Balaram out of paternal affection, and this gave great pleasure to the Supreme Lord Krishna and Balaram. So the point here is that this Yoga Maya potency actually bewildered Vasudeva and Devaki and caused them to feel greater love. So this is how Yoga Maya works. Now on the other hand, the external feature of Yoga Maya is known as Mahamaya, and she also bewilders. But that bewildering is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Naham prakasa sarvasya yoga maya samabritaha. Now it's very interesting, this verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Naham prakasa sarvasya yoga maya samabritaha. That he covers those who are bewildered, they're covered by the curtain of the deluding energy. But here it says yoga maya. So we should understand that when Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the curtain of Maya covers the conditioned souls, it is Yoga Maya in her feature as Mahamaya. And there we find the effect is that those who become influenced by Mahamaya go further away from Krishna. They forget Krishna. So, this Mahamaya then is also a potency of the Lord. In the Brahma Samhita, she is also described to be just like a wife. But because she has the very unpalatable, thankless task of keeping the conditioned souls captive in the material world, she cannot directly appear before the Lord. Rather, she is embraced by the manifestation of the Lord in the mode of passion, and ignorance, namely Lord Shiva, Shambhu, who is her master. This Shambhu is also manifestation. Is described that he is also described to be a manifestation of Lord Narayan, and therefore he is also supreme. But because he has some contact with the material energy, therefore he is not on the level of Narayan. That is the position of Lord Shiva. He is the master of the jivas, but he partakes of the nature of the jivas. What is that nature? They're limited. The jivas are limited, whereas the Supreme Lord is unlimited. So because Lord Shiva associates with the external energy Maya, therefore he partakes of the limited nature of the jivas. And the limited nature and the bewildering potency of Maya also is part of his Shakti. Just like Radharani is the Shakti of Krishna. Lakshmi is the Shakti of Narayan. So, Durga is the Shakti of Shiva, and Durga is the bewildering potency. So as Ladini Shakti, Sandini potency, and the Chit Shakti, the Sambit potency, are all the Shaktis. And there are many, many Shaktis, all of whom serve Krishna. So he has full knowledge, full bliss, Satchit Ananda, Vigraha. But Shiva, because he is served by Maya, he is not so qualified. He is not so qualified. So he only has some of the chit and some of the ananda potency. And he has some of this bewildering potency and some of the limiting potency. And this is the distinction between Shiva and Vishnu or Krishna. And therefore it is described that Shiva is like dahi, yogurt, and Krishna or Vishnu is like milk. So yogurt is nothing but milk, but it is milk transformed. Similarly, Shiva is no other than the Supreme Lord, but he is transformed on account of association with the modes of nature. So, now, how does the Lord maintain? He maintains by killing the demons. Therefore, it's described here that the king becoming the king means the Lord becomes the king, not a deva. The king, the executive head, when he is properly empowered, is the representative of God. Therefore, we see that where there were powerful kings, they were practically worshipped like they were the Supreme Personality of God. And in fact, they were empowered by the Lord. They did the job that the Lord does. Paritranaya sadunam vinashaya chadaskritam. They kill the demons and they protect the devotees. So here it mentions, in the form of Prajapati Marichi, the Supreme Lord creates progeny. Becoming the king, he kills the thieves and rogues. So this is how the king maintains. He maintains by destroying all those who are opposed to Dharma. So, and he propagates progeny by becoming the various Prajapatis. They're empowered incarnations of the Lord, just like Marichi. Marichi is created from the mind of Brahma. Very qualified to create progeny. Progeny is described in the Bhagavad Gita, first chapter. The difference between genuine progeny and Varnasanga, unwanted population. We see so many unwanted populations. So these unwanted populations are not at all what was created by the Prajapatis. The Prajapatis filled up the universe, and we see that their descendants, many of their descendants, were great exalted devotees. Dhamma-varuda bhushteshu kamosmi bharata sabha. Because when religion is followed, then even the act of sex life, when it is performed according to religious principles, is Krishna. It is not opposed to religious principle. It is not adharma, it is dharma. So, these Prajapatis, they are upholders of dharma. And their procreating is not on the level of mundane sex life. Their procreating is under the order of the Lord. Just like Brahma, who is the origin of all the Prajapatis. He is also creating, but he's doing so under the order of the Lord. Sometimes it is said that Brahma is not a pure devotee. Of course, our Brahma that we know, Haridas Thakur, he's a pure devotee of the Lord. But some Brahmas are not pure devotees of the Lord. They may be big karmis, they may be big jnanis. Some of the biggest karmi in the universe, he can become promoted in the next creation to the position of Brahma. Or the biggest jnani, he can be promoted to the position of Brahma. So, that means that their big karmi means there is some desire. What is his desire? His desire is for overlording, to control. And therefore he gets the chance to control, but not independently. He gets the facility to control under the direction of the Lord. So, this should indicate to us that when we have got some desire, whatever it may be, we should not try to fulfill it independently of the Lord. Actually, we should try to get free from all desires. Pure Krishna Bhakti means Anyavilashitasana Jnana Karmaryanabhrita Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. Free from karma, free from fruitive desires, from speculation of any type, from all controlling tendencies. That is pure Uttama Bhakti. And that is our goal. Our real goal is loving service to Radha and Krishna's lotus feet. But if one finds oneself still filled up with some type of desire, then they should perform devotional service, perform their worldly duties under the direction of the Lord. Just like Brahma did. He performed the worldly duty of creation under the direction of Krishna. So similarly, we have got, just like people get married, sometimes devotees get married in Krishna consciousness, but they don't get married out of sense gratification. They get married with the idea that I shall get married and under the will of the Lord, under the direction of the Lord. That means that I shall establish within the home that Krishna is the proprietor, not that I am a supreme enjoyer, aham bhogi. This mentality causes us to come in the material world. But the householder who thinks that Krishna is the supreme Lord and I am simply the servant of Krishna, my wife is the servant of Krishna, my children are the servant of Krishna, that house is like Vaikuntha. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I was sitting at home and one day I saw that my house turned into Goloka Vrindavan. So this means that the householders who are simply seeing themselves as the servants of the deity, they are freed from that karma. In the Isha Upanishad it is said that if one performs service in that way, that means offering everything to the Lord, then he can do so for hundreds of years. There's a verse. He can do so for hundreds of years and there will be no material entanglement. The same point is made in Bhagavad Gita, Yajnarthat karma no latya, lokoyam karma bandhana, tadartham karma kuntaya, mukta sangha samachara. If work is done for Vishnu, it does not bind. There is no karma. And you can go on performing such work for hundreds of years. In other words, if you learn to perform your duties, worldly duties, because spiritual duties are something different. We don't find this type of worldly duty in the spiritual world. Or you can say we find it in its pure form. For example, if there's a husband and wife, then they have so many duties to each other. Now, in the spiritual world, we see that the origin of husband and wife we find in Nanda and Yasoda. They are the origin of husband and wife. They are the original, you can say, husband and wife. So what is their duty? Their duty is giving pleasure to Krishna. So there's no material consideration. There's no private or personal thought within the mind of Yasoda Devi or Nanda Maharaj. They never think, how can we set up our home after the kids go to bed? Krishna and Balaram, how can we enjoy? They don't think like this. Whether Krishna is resting, whether Krishna is waking, whatever Krishna is doing, Mother Yasoda is simply meditating on Krishna. Nanda Maharaj is simply meditating on Krishna. Never do they meditate on anything separate from Krishna. So, that is not worldly duty. But if one has worldly duties to perform, then let him do it under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Then there will be no attachment, no connection with Maya. So, ultimately the Lord annihilates everything. Why? That annihilation is very fearful. People are generally afraid of death, just like we read in the story of Puranjan, the allegory of Puranjan. The death entered Chandavagya, entered Kala, entered with their various 360 servants and their associates, 360 days of the year, time, entered within the body and began, to devastate the body of Puranjan, the enjoyer of the body. So, time I am, Krishna says. I have time I am, and I will devour everything. All devouring death. Mityu sarva haras chaham. But this is also the mercy of the Lord. Because otherwise, if it were not for the time factor, if it were not for death, then we would go on languishing in material existence for billions of years, thinking that somehow I will enjoy and never succeeding. Therefore, death is very merciful. Time is not. Krishna shows a devotee is never afraid of death. Never afraid of death. Whereas the karmi is fearful and passes urine and stool at the time of death out of fear because he sees the Yamadutas, the messengers of death. The devotee never sees the Yamadutas. And therefore when he passes from this world, he does so in a very happy state. Just like we saw not only Srila Prabhupada, but Prabhupada's disciple, just like Gauri Dasi, the great Sankirtan devotee, when she gave up her body in Vrindavan, she was smiling very peacefully, blissful, because the devotee doesn't see Yamaraj. It's described like thunder and lightning. Death comes to the devotee. In the description of Narada Muni's disappearance, it was like thunder and lightning. Thunder means everything ended with death, and immediately there was illumination. So immediately everything becomes illuminated, because the devotee is transferred back to the spiritual world, the abode of the Lord. So this is the mercy of the Lord. in the form of death. It is not something horrible. We should understand that the devotee is never put into any fearful condition, even by annihilation. So all of these are different qualities of the Supreme Lord: creation, maintenance, as well as annihilation. Now in the next verse, people, we will read it again, people in general are bewildered by the illusory energy that we have got experience, how Maya is bewildering everyone. No matter what, I was yesterday coming on the plane, anytime we get any association with the karmis, we get ample opportunity to observe how Maya works. First, before getting on the plane, I was sitting next to one paraplegic man he was from Kenya. And he was crippled, you could see, probably from birth. And he was in the wheelchair, but still, when some beautiful lady passed by, he looked. And he could not stop looking. So he had no ability to enjoy. He could never enjoy her, but still he was thinking within the mind, somehow I will enjoy. And he does not understand, next lifetime he will get a very good body to be able to enjoy this woman, but he will have to suffer, because no woman will ever be able to give a man enjoyment, because that is the trick. Woman tries to enjoy man, and man tries to enjoy the woman, and neither are happy. Neither can fully enjoy. Because the material energy is set up in such a way that as soon as there is the effort or the pleasure of sex life, there are so many consequent types of suffering. Just like the woman, for a little bit of enjoyment of sex life, she has to suffer 9 months of pregnancy. And the man has to suffer how many years of maintaining? After the child, 9, the woman gets off easy, the man has to go much more. Because he has to work very hard for the next 19 years maintaining the child. So just for a few moments of sense enjoyment. Therefore, this man who in the wheelchair, he will get his next birth, and he will have a strong, healthy body perhaps, or maybe he'll take his birth as a woman, but he will not become happy. He will not become happy. So this is what is going on. We see Maya, that which is not. That which is not, the illusion, the mirage in the desert. You are very thirsty, you are stranded in the desert, and then you see in the far distance this beautiful oasis, and you run, and it keeps going into the distance, and you run, and you run, and you run, and then you fall down in the sand, and you die. The sun kills you, it dries you out, and you're just a skeleton lying in the desert. And this is going on. This is what people are doing. They're running after the phantasmagoria of Maya. So, people in general are bewildered by the illusory energy, and therefore what do? They try to find the absolute truth, the Supreme Lord, through various types of research and philosophical speculations. Nonetheless, they are unable to see the Supreme Lord. So, Srila Prabhupada describes what these philosophical speculations are, and I will read them to you from the Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 25. I will read to you text number 56. By studying the 6 philosophical theories, one cannot reach the absolute truth. It is therefore our duty to follow the path of the Mahajans, the authorities. Whatever they say should be accepted as the supreme truth. Then Prabhupada describes what these different types of philosophies are. 1. The Mimamsaka philosophers, following the principles of Jaimini, stress fruitive activity and say that if there is a God, he must be under the laws of fruitive activity. In other words, if one performs his duties very nicely in the material world, God is obliged to give one the desired result. According to these philosophers, there is no need to become a devotee of God. If one strictly follows moral principles, one will be recognized by the Lord, who will give the desired reward. Such philosophers do not accept the Vedic principle of Bhakti Yoga. Instead, they give stress to following one's prescribed duty. You may remember that Krishna also preached this philosophy to his father when he wanted to stop his father from performing the Indra Yajna, Indra Puja. So he preached this bogus philosophy of Karma Mimamsaka. And nowadays there are many persons also who are so-called Kali Yuga theologians who now stress that, anyway, if there is a God, he's bound to fulfill the results of men's good actions. So, and then they go on like this, saying that he is therefore subservient to the man, because ultimately he's bound to fulfill whatever man does. Another type of speculation, in other words, these are all different types of philosophies by which people try to find out the absolute truth. But Prabhupada says they don't. These philosophies do not yield the absolute truth. Here's the second. Atheistic Sankhya philosophers like Kapila, that's not our Kapila, not Lord Kapila, but the atheist Kapila, analyze the material elements very scrutinizingly and thereby come to the conclusion that material nature is the cause of everything. They do not accept the conclusion that they do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of all causes. This philosophy is very popular with the scientists. They like to study the Sankhya philosophy, in which analyzes the various material elements in the creation. Of course, it fails to understand that behind everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is a very foolish, actually very foolish. It is like saying that a human being is born, a child is produced by the mother. Because we see that from the womb of the mother a child is born. But how did the pregnancy take place? That took place by the interaction of the father with the mother. So it's described that Maya has two aspects. One aspect is the aspect that produces all the material ingredients, and that is known as pradhan. And the other aspect is the aspect of the accommodating potency. The chamber in which Maya allows all the interacting elements to mix. This is another part of Maya. So we see these two aspects of Maya, Pradhan Maya and Nimitya Maya. Just like a woman, when she's impregnated with the seed by a man, then she also has two aspects that function just as, it's a very nice example used, that the woman's, from her body are the various elements coming which give the child its body. Right? The soul gets the various elements from the mother's body, and these elements are just like Pradhan Maya. Maya means female, so the woman is female. So Pradhan Maya, the part of Maya that produces all the elements, material ingredients. And then the woman has her womb, which is the accommodating chamber. So that's Nimitya Maya. But the seed-giving father is Krishna. In other words, the spirit souls who are impregnated into Maya, they are coming from Krishna. So these foolish materialists, they only see the female side. They don't see what the source of everything is. Therefore, their intelligence is, their conclusion is only half of a conclusion. The other half, the origin of all, that life comes from life, from Krishna, the supreme life, they don't understand that. Why? Because their intelligence is bewildered. Maya prita jnani, ashuram bhavamashataha. Then there's four types of namam duskritina mudha. Four types of duskritina. Impious. Because they're impious, because they're irreligious, they do not qualify for understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Maya prita jnani, their intelligence is bewildered by Maya. Then the third type of speculator, Nyaya. Philosophers like Gautama and Kanada have accepted a combination of atoms as the original cause of the creation. Of course, that's also one of the favorite philosophies of the scientists. You can see these scientists, although they all think they're very intelligent, nothing new. All of their philosophies have already been explained by previous philosophers. 4. Mayavadi philosophers say that everything is an illusion. So what they say is also an illusion. That would be one of Prabhupada's responses. Headed by philosophers like Astavakra, they stress the impersonal Brahman effulgence as the cause of everything. 5. Philosophers following the precepts of Patanjali practice Raja Yoga. They imagine a form of the absolute truth within many forms. Panchapashana is one. They worship the absolute truth in many forms. They worship him as Surya, they worship him as Ganesh, they worship him as Devi, they worship him as Shiva, they worship him as philosophized Vishnu. So this Panchapashana worship. That is the process of self-realization for them. All 5 of these philosophies completely reject the predominance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and strive to establish their own philosophical theories. However, Srila Vyasadeva wrote the Vedanta Sutra and, taking the essence of all Vedic literature, established the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All five of the philosophers mentioned above understand that impersonal Brahman is without material qualities, and they believe that when the personality of Godhead appears, he is contaminated and covered by the material qualities. The technical word used is saguna. They say saguna Brahman and nirguna Brahman. But we have a different explanation. Saguna means with qualities. Nirguna means without qualities. So, however, when we say that the Supreme Lord has qualities, they are not material qualities. Therefore we chant Angani Yasya Sakalendiya Vritim Hanti, that each and every part of the Supreme Lord's body can perform the function of every other part. When he glances, he impregnates the material energy with unlimited living entities, and he does it just with his eyes, not with his generative organs. When he hears the loving prayers offered by the devotees when they offer foodstuffs, he can taste the prasadam. He tastes it. So his senses are transcendental in every respect. That is Saguna Brahman. Krishna is Saguna Brahman. And Krishna is also Nirguna Brahman, because Nirguna means without any effect of the material modes of nature. So all of this cannot be understood, because Bhakti Mama Vijanati Yavan Yes Chasmi Tatvataha. I am only to be understood by pure devotion. Therefore, the way for us to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead is by this Bhakti Yoga process. And what is that? It begins with Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. We have to take very seriously the mantra which we have been given at the time of initiation. That means Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and chant it for all we are worth. Chanting that Mahamantra, Shravanam, Kirtanam, then Krishna Smaranam. We will be able to remember the Lord. That means that our heart will become cleansed. Just like when we install or establish the deity, first we clean the deity's room, like in Gundicha Marjana. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to install or wanted to make ready the Gundicha temple for the appearance of Lord Jagannath, he and his associates cleansed away all of the dirty things. So in the same way, we are told that we must clean the heart of all anarthas. All unwanted dirty things must be cleansed out of the heart. Then Lord Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, the Lord of the heart, becomes is ready to sit down tightly there. So if we want to see Krishna, and we should want to see Krishna, then we must first of all qualify. And what is that qualification? You must be pure at heart. So that change of heart can only be done by the grace of Krishna and Guru. By Guru's grace, by Krishna's grace, by Vaishnava's grace, we get the ability, the strength to purify the heart so that we can understand our eternal constitutional position in relationship to Krishna. That is the only method, the Bhakti Yoga method. So this is the method, the sixth philosophy, which was taught by Srila Vyasadeva in his natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost Bhakti Shastra. It is the topmost of all the devotional scriptures, and therefore it is preferred above all by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates constantly referred to the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam because they present and glorify the process of pure devotional service. So, this is the real philosophy. All the other philosophies are simply concocted. They are simply twisted understandings, and we should always be very careful not to allow such concoctions and speculations to enter into our devotional path. We should follow the path Mahajanayena Gata Savanta, that path which is chalked out by the Mahajans, that path which is described by Narad Muni as Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatriki Vidhi. The Bhagavad Vidhi means the path described by the narrations of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Pancharatrik Vidhi means the path which is described by Narad Muni as the worship of the deities of Vishnu.
Vishnu Tattva deities. So we are doing this. Our movement is based on these two paths. Hearing, chanting, and distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, and gorgeously worshipping Sri Vigraha, the transcendental form of the Lord. So we will stop here, and now see if anyone has any additions or any questions, and we'll try to answer. Yes. There are three things which are inconceivable. One is Srimati Radharani, and devotional service is the second, and the third is Lord Shiva. You can't conceive. It's impossible to totally understand the position of Lord Shiva, because although he is the Supreme Lord, he is not the Supreme Lord. So all we can say is that we have given you the description that he is the Supreme Lord, but because he partakes of the limited nature of the jivas, and because he partakes of some of the bewildering potency of Maya, and because he doesn't have the full Chit and Ananda Shakti serving him, therefore he's not fully the Supreme Lord. We hear that he, what is the percentage? 84%? 84%. He's 84% Godhead. The actual step-by-step process? Yeah. First of all, Prabhupada explains that the living entity is always Krishna conscious. But there is a tendency to be forgetful, to be independent. So as soon as that independent spirit becomes prominent, then we are in the fallen condition. And that fallen condition is that the living entity finds himself within the body of Mahavishnu. And that is how he falls. First of all, he comes within the body of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is none other than Krishna. He is the expansion of Krishna for the purpose of material creation. He is the original Purusha. So the living entity comes within the body of Mahavishnu, and then Mahavishnu glances, and that glance is time and the living entities. The glance is Shambhu, and Shambhu carries two things: the time aspect, Kala Shakti, which is one of the energies of the Lord, and the Jiva Shakti. The living entities are carried on the glance, and both are impregnated into the chamber of Maya, the accommodating chamber of Maya. And then, because of their presence within Maya, the modes of material nature become manifest and interact. And so the Mahatattva is formed, and this Mahatattva then produces this various types of elements, etc., which make up the bodies of the universes and ultimately the bodies of the living entities. So like this, the living entity falls. How did Lord Chaitanya? No, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. It is described that when Krishna came 5,000 years ago, he enjoyed his pastimes in Vrindavan. But still, he felt that there were some pastimes, there was something which he had not yet fully experienced. Just like sometimes a person writes a book, and then later on he thinks, something I left out, I forgot to write. So that's called like an appendix, right? An epilogue or an appendix. So in the same way, Krishna could see that while he was enjoying his pastimes, the best pastimes of all were in Vrindavan. And amongst those pastimes, the best pastimes in Vrindavan were with the gopis. And amongst those pastimes, the best pastimes of the gopis were with Srimati Radharani. But when Krishna observed Srimati Radharani interacting with him, he could understand that her pleasure was greater than his. So he was thinking that what is that pleasure which she is feeling? what is that about me? What qualities are within me which are attracting her? He was wanting to understand the mood of Radharani, and therefore he decided to take advantage of this age, and he decided to appear in this age. Krishna himself appeared, but he did so covered by the mood of Radharani, and that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combined form of Radha and Krishna. Not just that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears through the energy, Ladini. Radharani is the personification of Ladini Shakti. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not only Radharani, but also Krishna. So not only is he coming in the form of energy, he's also the energetic. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. He is both combined. Say. Krishna is the Shakti Mam. So this is that sometimes it's described that also. But anyway, he's the combined form of Radha and Krishna. I have never heard any term which like what you're asking for. Other questions? Yes. There's not illusion, but there's the possibility that illusion can come at any moment. Prabhupada says that because we are all, God is the supreme, independent, supreme Lord. And because we are His part and parcels, we also have a minute degree of independence. So this minute degree of independence is sometimes used improperly or sometimes properly. When it is used properly, we are in Krishna consciousness. But when we misuse our independence, then we find ourselves in the material world. So it is not manifest. In other words, the ignorance or the knowledge of such ignorance, we do not think of the material world when we are in the spiritual world. Therefore, we don't contemplate what is the suffering going on. But sometimes we may forget or think that we are enjoyers separate from Krishna. As soon as that happens, then we come in the material world. Obviously, if we would remember at that moment that there's going to be suffering, then we won't go there. But we don't remember that. It's because it's the moment that we misuse our minute degree of independence, then we immediately become bewildered. As long as we remain in devotional service to Krishna, we have full knowledge. But as soon as that small degree of minute independence, which is always there, Prabhupada says, is misused, then we become bewildered. So if you try to argue which came, just like the philosophers were arguing that there was a crow, and the crow landed on the tree, and the fruit fell from the tree. So the philosophers were arguing that the fruit fell from the tree, and as soon as it fell from the tree, the crow flew away. And another philosopher argued, no, the crow took off from the tree, and by taking off from the branch of the tree, he made the fruit fall from the tree. So they were arguing back and forth about which thing came first. In the same way, sometimes people argue so many things about coming in the material world that, if we had full intelligence, then how is it that we didn't have intelligence at the moment when we fell? And it goes back and forth. So this is the analogy of the crow and the tal fruit. And Prabhupada says, better not to waste time with this type of argument, but recognize that in any case, you are now in the material world, so somehow get out. So it's time. We have to end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki